Hello and welcome to History on the Hoof. Today we're on a plateau of land above the River Yure near the North Yorkshire village of Thornborough, where we're going to take a look at the Thornborough Henges, which has become known as the Stonehenge of the North, even though Stonehenge isn't a proper henge, as we'll see later. A henge is a prehistoric circular or oval earthen enclosure dating from around 3000 to 2000 BC or 4 to 5000 years ago. It has a ring-shaped bank on the outside and a ring-shaped ditch on the inside with a flat central area. Some have more banks and ditches, and some have standing stones or timber posts inside. They all have openings or causeways that pass through the earthwork, and if there are two, they are often opposite across the circle. There are less than 100 henges still surviving across the British Isles, although it's likely there were many more. Most of them are between 66 feet and 300 feet in diameter. Durrington Walls and Avebury in Wiltshire are larger. As I've said, although Stonehenge has an earthwork circle around it, it isn't a proper henge as the main ditch is external to the main bank. Ours in Yorkshire have the ditch on the inside. The Thornborough monuments, which we're going to wander through today, are made up of three henge structures linked by a causeway. They are aligned along a northwest to southeast axis and cover at least a mile. No one really knows what they were used for. It could be ritual or ceremonial, a central neutral meeting point for a number of tribes, but if you take a look at them from above, you can see they're not in a straight line, but rather a dogleg, and it has been put forward that the henges represent Orion's belt, which is quite a nice idea. Each structure is about 820 feet or 250 metres in diameter, which makes them quite substantial, especially if you think they were dug by hand and without the benefit of iron tools. The first one we're looking at is at the lower or southeasterly, which has been eroded by farming and quarrying. Like other henges, the Thornborough monuments are surrounded by an earthen bank. The banks originally stood up to about 13 feet or 4 metres high and were cut by two opposing entrances. Excavation has revealed that the inner banks were possibly plastered with gypsum, which can be dug nearby, and would have made them very bright and white, visible for some distance. The banks of the middle henge still survive to quite a height and give some idea of the size of the monuments and the efforts and manpower taken to build them. This one was built over a much earlier structure called a cursus, which are only found in Britain and Ireland. They are a round-ended, rectangular in shape, a bit finger or cigar-like, the two long sides being made up of a bank and external ditch. They're big things, ranging from about 50 yards to 6 miles in length. The distance between the parallel sides can be up to about 100 yards. Again, it's not really known what these enclosures were for, but it has been suggested that cursuses were routes or boundaries, or even linked to mortuary practice, as there are many burial places alongside. Typically, they date to around 3600 to 3400 BC. This one ran across the high ground for at least 3/4 of a mile and was about 144 feet or 44 metres wide and crossed by several causeways. Where we are is where a causeway cut the northern ditch of the cursus, suggesting that the older monument was incorporated into the henges. Sadly, much of the cursus was destroyed by quarrying in the 1950s. In 2023, the middle and lower henges were passed by tarmac to English Heritage, and in 2024 they acquired the top henge, which has not been damaged by quarrying or ploughing. They subsequently put in place pathways through the woods which had in effect preserved the monument, which give a brilliant perspective of the sheer size of the Henges. It's one of the best preserved henges in Britain. At its deepest, the inner ditch is up to 8 feet 6, that's 2.5 metres deep, and some 66 feet or 20 metres wide, and the main bank survives up to 9 feet 10, around 3 metres, about 59 feet or 18 metres in width. As well as the henges, the cursuses, Neolithic barrows, this fascinating area also contains many Bronze Age burial mounds. Associated with these later burials are 2 parallel lines of pits which held timber posts near the lower henge. It might have been a processional route. They do seem to end at a round barrow. Another possible cursus monument lies west of the northern henge. Also dating to the early Neolithic period in the area are an oval enclosure and triple ditch barrow containing several burials. There is no doubt that this ancient monumental area is part of a larger region of Neolithic and early Bronze Age found along a 7.5 mile stretch of the Ure, parallel with the modern day A1. It's hard to imagine that the river was anything but a busy route between the Pennines to the west and East Yorkshire and on to the sea. And nothing to say that the Roman Dare Street, which preceded the A1, was not itself following an ancient route. A lot of them did. And if I was to stick my neck out, that is guess, like everyone else, it strikes me that this area, with its huge excavations in the landscape and many burial sites stretching from the Neolithic into the Bronze Age, was a major boundary site between tribes, utilising the river and natural plateau. The big question is, why did they stop using it? All the henges are free to access and are well worth a visit. And if you do get a moment, have a look at an aerial view of them online. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of History on the Hoof. If you've liked it, please subscribe.